it's definitely like for all of us, it's an uphill battle. We want to do something, we're not sure what to do.
Right.
You don't want to be too harsh about it because you see like the social media memes where it's like if they post signs not to feed the squirrels or the birds.
Yeah, yeah.
Shouldn't we do the same?
Yeah.
Because
Don't
we
feed
want
the wildlife.
Don't feed
right.
don't feed the homeless because they'll become dependent. And you're just like,
well, I mean, there may be some truth to that. I mean, you just continually provide them with services and don't give them any motivation to go beyond that. People.
And that was the other thing too, was like Jeff told me, he goes, man, I got like 30, 40 tickets for sleeping in the park.
Yeah.
Because parks are closed at like 8 p.m. And
right.
He was camped out at Tyson Street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what do you do with that since you don't work, you don't have any money? He goes, they have a mediator that shows up at Brother Benno's like every 3 or 4 months, and you go down there, and as long as you show up, it's like a court date.
Yeah.
You put everything on the table, and everything goes away.
Oh, I see.
And it's like, okay, well, that's like good for you because then you're not doing...
You're not stuck behind a warrant for your
stuck behind
arrest.
a warrant or doing 3 hots and a cotton.
Right.
This, that, and the other.
But still doesn't fix the problem.
But it doesn't fix the problem either.
Yeah, doesn't fix the problem.
And again, you got people that aren't taking advantage of the system, they're taking advantage of certain things because it's like, well, they could just camp out, and every 3 months it can all go away. And
yeah.
They can camp out, and
they get hassled here and there.
They get hassled a little bit, and they get
pushed
rounded
around.
up, and they get shuffled along. And
right.
the term that comes up a lot is herding kitty cats.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can't really do it. You just got to kind of shuffle them along, and they'll make their way somewhere, just nobody knows where, and then
right.
they make their way back.
Well, yeah, and I think that there are some municipalities that do a little bit of that where they push it along to the next town.
Yeah.
They're pretty popular stories about people or towns and cities shuffling. Like Carlsbad, we hear it all the time about Carlsbad. You don't have a very big homeless problem in Carlsbad.
Yeah. Hey, Doug, is Sasha right there? Is Sasha right there?
Oh yeah, I see her by the trash can. So everybody, there's a lot of rumors about Carlsbad having a program to bring homeless people over here, and we have some means of paying them to do that.
On the backside of Carlsbad Police Department, there's their maintenance building, and next door to it is Casa. It's a homeless facility.
Yes, I know what you're talking. I've heard the name. I can't.
And people keep saying, "Oh, Carlsbad just grabs their homeless and they drop them off here." The majority of Carlsbad's cops live here in Oceanside. They can't afford to live in Carlsbad.
I have one that lives right up the hill by me.
And so it's there's this, I think it happened like one time where OPD dropped somebody, or Carlsbad PD dropped somebody off in Oceanside, and that just became like the stigmata.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't even think it was real. I think it was an undercover that was dropped off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who looked homeless.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to ever verify that. I mean, unless you got some internal document somehow through Freedom of Information or something like that.
And Carlsbad's really. My wife works for Carlsbad Police Department.
Oh,
so their Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
It's you go to the front counter, anything you want.
Right.
Unless it's a pending investigation.
Yeah. Actually, it was down at Alex Road Skate Park, and there was some injury, and I was going to go get some more information about what happened. And
the girl on the bike.
No, it was a kid that was in the big pool and fell and hit his head apparently, but they had the CSI lady out there taking pictures, and I think it was Officer Bird and Gonzalez were out there, and they were interviewing everybody. But from what I could ascertain from the interactions that they had with the witnesses, was that maybe there was an assault that occurred before he fell.
Yeah.
It wasn't just from skateboarding. So I went down to OPD to get some information, and I'd never done Freedom of Information Act or California Public Records Act request. So I got to actually go back down there this week because the lady never emailed me back. because the lady who handled that wasn't there that day or something. So I don't know.
I don't know how good. I'm not sure.
And that's the way it should be. You know what you were just saying, how you go in and say, look, I need this.
Yeah.
Here's the information I'd like to have, and
Not to stop.
and have them
Not to-
provide
no.
it. You know.
No. Yeah, they again, Carlsbad's pretty good about it, and Oceanside, for whatever reason, they have a bit of hostility towards some of it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we just want. It's transparency. I mean, that's what the CPR is supposed to be for. That's what Freedom of Information Act is supposed to be for. You know, and even doing this kind of thing where you go in and you record public officials in the capacity of their public duties. There should be no problem with that. You know, in terms of transparency, if you're doing everything on the up and up. You know.
Yeah, Oceanside seems to operate on the hush hush and shady scale.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of been that way.
Yeah.
But like again, I grew up here, and
Right.
we've discovered that there's some real fucking dickhead cops.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of those all over, I suppose. But I mean, I talked to Officer Bird for a brief moment during my interaction down there, and he seemed fine. You know, cordial at the very least.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I just found out that Oceanside had a lot of cops that have recently quit.
Oh, really?
So they're really
Understaffed
right now.
Yeah, I know they have a lot of young cops. I've noticed a lot of young cops around lately.
Yeah.
It's a weapon. It's like a fire hydrant. See the ball?
You happy, buddy? Out and about?
Yeah, well, it's a great day for it to be out here.
Yeah,
in the
he's having
shade.
some issues. He's barely eaten this last week. He's got chronic kidney disease, so
He's in a happy spot right now.
yeah, me and the wife, we've been in tears the last few days because we're thinking we're gonna have to put him down this week.
Just make him comfortable.
Enjoy the grass, all right, buddy?
Yeah, it's like I couldn't get him to eat no steak, no chicken. It's like, really, you're not gonna eat that? Man, you usually got to watch your fingers when
Yeah,
you
he's
got
all
that
over
stuff in
it.
your hand.
Howdy.
Good. You guys take care, all right? Hey, Joe, nice to meet you, man.
Nice talking with you too.
Okay, see you again.
Well, I'm gonna take a walk over there across the street and see what's doing on there. And
Yeah, there's again, there's those trails are there. As soon as you cross the street, though, again, check yourself for ticks and shit.
Yeah.
'Cause
once you get back,
Yeah, I stopped walking that way because last time I took him on a long walk all through
yeah.
there.
Well, I said I didn't
got
bring
home
my
and they were,
dog
like,
today.
all over my sweatshirt.
Yeah, I didn't bring my dog today because I figured I'd probably go down there a little bit and didn't want to get involved in that. So
Did something happen down there too this weekend?
Oh,
Yeah,
we found
yeah.
a decomposed body. There was a bunch of, Annette saw all the police and the lifeguards and stuff doing a joint effort to pull the guy out.
yeah, they said it'd been in there a while too, right?
Yeah, white dude. They don't know if it was, just they don't know.
They have no idea at
Right,
this
they've
point.
given no reasons.
Right.
They couldn't even identify him because he was decomposed.
Yeah. That's pretty. They'll probably have to use some dental records or something if they're even able to identify him at all.
Yeah. Plus, that same day down at Fiesta Island, they found a 40 to 50-year-old Hispanic lady floating face down, butt naked.
At Fiesta Island?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Did you guys hear about those 3 people that he found in a trunk?
No.
What?
Yes, because there was some
know.
confusion about where it happened. So it was on Tonopah Street, which we have a Tonopah Street just across on Fusat, across across Mission. It's a dead-end street that butts up against the utility road that's up there. And I went and drove up that street the other day because I'm like, well, let's go see what's going on. And there was nothing. It was actually down in San Diego.
Yeah, Bayho or Bay Park.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I think it was Bay Terraces.
something like that.
Yeah.
What I find odd is that they report this. They find 3 dead bodies. They're decomposed to the point that they can't to really know what their
Such-
race is.
Yeah.
2 women and a man, and they're in their young 20s or teens.
Yeah.
And then you never hear a word about it.
Right.
Another follow-up.
And
No.
that's kind of
It's
what
like,
I.
that's kind of bizarre. If I found that on my street,
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the hell happened.
Yeah,
Would
and that's
you?
kind of what I was, getting into the mode of doing with that. Even that little incident that happened at Alex Road Skate Park was to go and get even the police reports, get some of the body cam footage to follow up myself as a concerned citizen. I live right there by it. I want to know what's going on. If 3 bodies showed up just like this, that's why I'm down here. I'm like, well, let me go down and look and see what's going on. I'll go and ask the police department. If I see the volunteers, I'll ask them. But yeah, if I heard that there was 3 bodies in
a trunk.
in a trunk,
And their
and
kids
so-
almost.
so,
I mean, young 20s.
crazy
That
circumstances.
sounds
We've
like
had
a hit or
other
something.
issues like that before. Down by Douglas, there was a guy that was found in an SUV, bound and wrapped in plastic, in the back of an SUV. I'm like, well, what the hell's going on with that? I've never heard anything about that. That was last year.
There's a Oceanside's a big hub of a lot of shit.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right.
So it
A lot of things pass through this way.
a lot
Yeah.
of things pass through this way. There were people that I knew when I was in like junior high school that had gotten busted for like smuggling people up
Is
through-
that right?
Yeah, doing the coyote work or
Yeah,
whatever. And
yeah.
Did
And-
you know Rich and Sandy with Molly the dog? Oh, he knows now. He's the one who got his boat stolen.
Yeah,
Oh, you knew that already?
yeah. He told me. He told me.
And
I think the morning that it happened or the day after it happened.
I think it's interesting. They have the footage on. There's a camera on the freeway, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
saw.
Saw the boat going?
So he got it back.
Yeah, he got it back.
Oh, he did?
He got it
Oh,
back.
that's
He
good.
wished
Was,
he hadn't have got it.
Yeah, it got stolen. It was taken up to San Pedro, and I guess it was put on Craigslist or whatever.
Oh,
and,
really?
And so it was sold supposedly like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, those things have to be registered. I mean, you buy a boat that's, not registered, you don't have any paperwork. I mean, how are you going to get that legal now,
Was that Rich's boat?
yeah.
Yeah.
No wonder it passed through so many hands.
Well,
Then
there's,
probably somebody tried to go to the DMV and get it registered legally, and they're like, well, this has now come up on the list of stolen
Or harbor
vehicles.
police or somebody
Yeah.
ran a number.
Sure.
Well, there's a lot of car dealers and stuff like that. They'll take a car in.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's all oops.
Well, it's funny now we brought that up. There's a big bike chop shop that some homeless people are running underneath the flying bridge up here,
Thank you.
and back in the brush. And somebody found their stolen bike at one of the bike shops that rent bikes down here. So what they're doing is selling these bikes to the bike shop owners, and then they're renting them out as bikes to ride on the beach.
I got this one. You'll never forget this one. So Carlsbad has a bait bike. I think it's a
bait bike,
A
yeah,
bait bike.
yeah.
It's like a specialized.
Yeah.
It's like a $5,000.
It's a nice bike,
It's
yeah.
a nice bike. So they would leave it at like the Carlsbad Mall or this, that, and the other, and it had gotten stolen. Some guy pulls up, goes out, bolt cutters, grabs the thing, and the bike has a tracking device on it.
Yeah.
Takes off, gets in a high-speed chase, right? Gets arrested. So the guy's got this criminal history. He's got outstanding warrants, the whole bit.
Yeah.
So the guy's mom shows up at Carlsbad PD. Hey, I'm here to get my son's possessions. He got arrested for this, that, and the other. I need to get his bicycle.
Okay.
So they're going through this, that, and the other. They're like, they don't see anything on a bicycle. They got his wallet, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. She was like, nah, he said his bicycle got impounded too. And then they were like, the bicycle that he stole.
Jump up there on the wall.
They're trying to claim the bicycle as his.
I see.
Get on the ball.
Now she's complicit.
I'm just what? They
So
complain.
this bait bike that this guy had
Oh, they-
stolen, the guy's mom showed up at the PD trying to claim it to get it out of impound.
Ha! Busted.
Well, it had a tracking device on it, so he had gotten arrested with it anyways. So he's got that dollar amount that I guess puts it in the grand theft range or whatever.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
already had a grocery list of stuff that was
rap sheet.
Yeah, his history was not a.
Sit down.
Not a pretty picture.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah,
You're
Carlsbad
not
is
involved in that?
they're looking at a more aggressive approach to it because they had a couple of tweakers out of somewhere were breaking into houses, and this lady had gotten stabbed and killed.
Oh yeah.
She
Right
was-
on the
she
lagoon
was-
there.
She was stabbed somewhere in the neighborhood, I want to say like 50 times.
Yeah.
Not one was a fatal stabbing,
Yeah.
but there was so many she literally just bled out.
Yeah. She was
And then-
she was in just live enough to call 911. I heard.
Yeah, and then just a few weeks later, they had two homeless people that had gotten into it, and the aggressor of the homeless people was the one that wound up getting killed. So now they're hot with trying to figure out. You know, they need to be more proactive.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Ruger, hey, it's okay.
easy.
Hey guys.
Ruger, hey, Ruger.
Well, we need that here. I mean, we've had plenty of incidences like that around too. I mean, there was just that guy that got murdered in the Mission Cove apartments a couple months ago. There was a guy that had gotten housing finally. He was a homeless guy.
The new complex.
New complex over there, and he
he
invited one of his friends from off the street, and apparently they had some history of an abusive relationship, and they got into a fight, and one beat the other to death inside of the apartment.
And he's
So-
just getting on his feet.
Just getting back off the streets, yeah. So I mean, that's if something like that doesn't prompt the city council, the police department to take a different approach to how we deal with these issues and getting these people the help that they need, then I don't know what is. I mean, we have plenty of people going to city council meetings, voicing our concerns. You know, they just sit there and they look at you, and maybe they look at their watch, or maybe they look at their phone. You know, who knows if they're paying attention.
Yeah.
But you know,
Well, what'd you think of the meeting? Did everybody think that was productive or just
We had to
another
take him to
lip
the vet,
service?
so I missed it.
Yeah, I didn't
Lip
make it.
service.
That
We
sounds
came, but we
Thursday.
I think Kent was here for the whole thing, so he said he would update me. So if you see him, you might ask him.
like a HOA meeting you guys had.
Well, it was the police department.
Oh.
And,
Yeah, it was.
Senator Sanchez was here.
Oh, I got you.
Safe Oceanside.
Yeah, yeah. That's Armbruster. It's his group.
Who is it?
Tim Armbruster. He's a guy. His son was the kid that was almost taken by the homeless guy down here
That's what's on the little thing
at
that we
Alex
got,
Road. Yeah.
What do you mean almost taken?
So there was some homeless guy that grabbed his son, 13-year-old son, off his bike on the bike path and drug him into the
I read about
weeds,
that.
That's why we don't go down there anymore.
into the riverbed. But that's not.
That's not right.
That's not right. Yeah. So he started this. There's a group called Take Back Oceanside, as well as Tim Armbruster's group, Safe Oceanside, that are trying to work with the city council, trying to work with OPD, and trying to figure out what's the best way to tackle these issues. You know, when you have, kids getting, assaulted on the bike path, that's supposed to be a focal point for our community. This big bike path going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
paved
and
path.
instead it's a super highway for the homeless people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the other side is good for them, but what about us? We
Right.
don't get one.
Oh yeah. So
And
so yeah, Safo side, Tim Armbruster's group, good guy. I started a YouTube channel that I call Documenting Oceanside, in which I've been going out doing community events and in stuff like this, in talking to people, talking to homeless people, talking to the cops, whoever will basically chat it up, and trying to educate and get information to people. I've been interviewed plenty of homeless people, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity. Kerry said he did, but people just don't have or want to, for all that matter.
I'm not afraid. But
Yeah.
I'm not stupid either.
Right. No, and even then, my wife's like, "Look, you're 6'5" and huge dude, but be careful going out there." And you have to, because you see guys walking down the street talking to whoever in their head and making crazy gestures, and you got to be careful about those dudes, because next thing you know, they're picking up a stick and beating you with it or
Or they
something.
follow
Sasha.
you home and then come down and do something at
Or-
your house later.
Or like the guy up in LA who beat a 67-year-old grandma on her way home from her lunch date with a bird scooter and killed her. You know, I mean, just out of the blue.
Well, I'm Leanne.
Nice talking to you, Leanne.
Capistrano.
Nice talking to you. I appreciate it. My name's Gary.
Gary.
I'm down by the airport, on the north side of the airport. So I just came down to check out this area and see what was going on with that other incident. But
What's the name of your?
documenting Oceanside.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
See you later.
All right, Kerry. Well, I'm going to go take a look across the street here and see if there's any. Probably nothing much to see, but
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I haven't taken a look over there myself
Yeah.
in a while. A lot of times when we're coming down the hill,
yeah.
when I'm driving, I'm watching the road. But sometimes you see the encampments and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I was driving one day, and further down, kind of in the middle of here, there's a crest of a ridge that comes out, and there was a tent on that crest just hanging out there in the middle of nowhere one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll take any spot they can, I suppose. But you know, I
Well,
mean, you
they-
got to
they-
survive. But again, you know, we spend a lot of money in dealing with this issue, and
Yeah.
I'd like to see some progress, but we don't really see any progress. We get more dead bodies and more homeless people asking for change. I saw a kid the other day. I was stopping at McDonald's Mission in Canyon up there in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning before going to work. And there's a kid, couldn't have been 20 years old, standing at the end of the drive-through, waiting for people to get their food, and he's asking for people for change.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're barely out of high school. I mean, what are you doing?
Right.
You know, I mean, you should be at work right now. As a matter of fact, I think McDonald's is hiring.
Well,
You know, go
there's
inside
a-
and get a job.
There's a weird angle to that too, that one of my nephews had told me about, is that there's some kids. So I'm 48, so there's some kids that are 15 to 25,
Yeah,
maybe even 30, running around that are not homeless.
right.
They come from well-to-do families
Oh, I see.
that just look the part, play
Oh,
the part.
interesting.
No, they go home to a very nice home
Right.
with a family that's not suffering.
I
And
see.
so there's
So some kind of game to them, or
there's
see how much money they can pilfer off of people,
I'm
or
not sure what it is. I mean, everybody has their weird angle.
right. I had not heard that. That's kind of a weird
so
deal.
That, to me, I was like, you know, and he pointed a few of them out. He's like, you see those guys right there? He's like, they're not homeless. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, they're not homeless.
Really?
He's all, they just do that greasy look. That's just their thing.
Really?
I was like, wow. I'm like, how do you know that? He's like, James knows them. James, you know, one of my other nephews.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
So he knows them and knows what they're up to.
knows kind of what their deal is.
Wow, that's a different angle I'd not ever heard.
And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of strange. Years ago, we had William Waller.
Uh-huh.
Everybody called him Can Man Willie. Owned a house over there in the Pasole side of it,
Yeah.
and I think his wife had left him or something like that.
Right.
And I think at that point he was like retired. He just walked around the city and collected cans all day long.
Right. Right.
You know, and it
Give him
was
something
like,
to do.
so the guy had, you know, property, had
Yeah.
a house,
Had
this
somewhere to
stuff,
go
just
and
milled
probably had a retirement from someplace.
yeah,
And
milled about the streets. I think he was like an electrical engineer or something
Yeah.
like that. I think I heard.
interesting.
I mean, I could be wrong on the whole story.
Right. Right. But I mean, even that, you know, can't fault the guy for that. Whatever, he's helping clean up and
Yeah. But
get a
there
few
was-
extra bucks with cans, I suppose.
There was a few other strange stories that had come up where like some homeless people had walked into like a bank and did like a $50,000 deposit or something like that. Cash that they had on them, and you're like, wait, what?
Right. Well, I mean, there are certainly stories about people making, you know, $200-400 a day panhandling at the end of the freeway on ramp. So I don't know how true they are, but
Yeah, no, it's
I'm sure that there are a lot of generous people out there that have no problem giving people cash. But that's why we try to put out the information that there are plenty of organizations out there you can donate to, legitimate organizations that will help people. Don't give people cash. That just enables them in terms of whatever other vices they may have, whether it's alcohol or drugs or
Yeah.
or whatever.
and they're you'll start to see like the more and more you'll see that certain homeless people are kind of territorial to certain areas.
Yeah.
And me and my wife were out, I think it was San Marcos or something like that. It's homeless guy at the off ramp, and it's like the guy's in work boots, the guy's in like Carhartt pants.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and he's out there panhandling. I'm sitting there looking at this guy. I'm like, that's not your typical homeless guy. That guy fell on hard times. She's like,
Yeah.
how can you tell? I'm like, look at the way he's dressed.
Yeah.
I go, he's not like a ragamuffin all greased
Right.
up this and the other.
Right.
Like the guy, he's got something going
Like if
on.
you
but
offered
he's-
that guy to come over and help you do some work at your house, he'd probably do it.
I handed him. I think I handed him $5. He had callus on his hands. This and the other. I'm like, he was like a construction working guy.
Right.
Maybe he had gotten a DUI and gotten his truck impounded. And was like, you know, whatever he did the night before, 2 nights before, blew
Sure.
it. And he's trying to like hurry up and get himself back.
And see, that's the
back to his
kind of
feet.
guy that, you know, a little bit of extra effort would help that guy in terms of figuring out what problems he had, figuring out if he had an alcohol problem, right? I mean, if he had an alcohol problem, you get him into some rehab thing, figuring out how much it would be to help him get his car out, to get him back on the road, to get a job. Like you spend, even if you spend an easy $3 to $5 grand to help that guy out with his immediate issue, that guy's going to get back into the workforce and now start living his life the way he was.
And this was at the 78 in Nordahl. And as many times as I go out there for various things, I'd never seen him again.
Yeah.
It was just that one time. Other homeless people, they have their intersections, they
Yeah.
got their areas, and so anytime
Yeah.
you're there, you typically see them.
Yeah.
I never saw this guy.
Yeah, there's a guy that does that. I haven't seen him in a while, but for a long time he was at the La Costa off-ramp off the 5, because I take my girls down there to do activities and stuff. And he was there every morning. You know, was clean, had clothes. You know, it wasn't like some dude that had just crawled out from the bushes. But obviously was an alcoholic. He had that countenance about him. He had this look about him that you could tell that he was a drinker. And he was there every day with the sign, anything helps, you know, this and that. You give him some water here and there, but that guy was there every day. And, you know, he wasn't any more older than I am. I mean, but, you know, you have people like that all over the place,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, everybody's got. There's a lot of different issues and stories and stuff like that out there.
Yeah.
Again, 20 years ago, we had a handful of homeless people. Everybody knew who they were.
Right.
You know, one that comes to mind, I was just talking about him yesterday with one of our neighbors, was this guy. I never knew his real name. Everybody called him Hollywood.
Hollywood.
It was this black guy. He was always in a suit.
Oh, really?
He always said good morning to everybody, hi to everybody. He was always smiling, and he was murdered something bizarre. I forget what.
Yeah.
And you know, but you're just like wow, like that guy got killed, and then you find out first you find out that he died, and then you find out he got murdered, and it was like, dang, that sucks, you know. And we had another one named Woody, and the guy was total comedy because he looked and acted like Richard Pryor,
Oh, really?
and you know, he spent a lot of time at one of my brother's house, and he was a vet, and so you know, my brother had put him to work, helped cleaning up stuff, and we drank a lot of beer and partied a lot because we
Yeah.
had band practice at my brother's place all the time. And so he was a good guy, but if he was on his medication and alcohol at the same time, it was a bad thing. So
Right.
unfortunately, the cops knew him on a first name basis.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to let you get on with your day, Kerry. I
Yeah.
appreciate you talking to me.
Yeah, no, we'll
And,
we'll talk again, man. Cause
yeah, I'll be
obviously
around.
We're on kind of the same wavelength where you want to kind of know what's going on. And,
Yeah.
And you know, if you can find that one person that you can help, you know, great.
Yeah. No, and that's like I say. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that need it, and sometimes it's just an encouraging squeeze on the shoulders that prompt them to do the right thing or for themselves. And
I actually went to the dollar store and bought like five or six pairs of men's flip-flops and women's flip-flops, and a couple things just to keep in my truck for some of these people that I come up because they don't have shoes.
yeah, I do the
they're
same
all
way
walking.
with water. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that, especially now it's hot. I put a case of water that costs $5 from Walmart in the truck, and some dude was laying out in front of the McDonald's down on Mission the other day and sleeping, had a sign propped up, but he was knocked out sleeping, and I just put a couple waters by his skateboard and took off. But anyway, do the right thing and stay safe, and I'll be back around. Thank you, sir.